Hi, welcome to Utah Story Show. My name is Rich Markosian. I'm the editor and publisher of Utah Stories magazine. And we're doing something we did in the very beginning of the show, which is me just talking to you. This episode is going to be just about me telling you about my educational experience and talking about the problems that I see in education today, which is a topic we cover in the September issue of the magazine. But before we get started, just a little bit of housekeeping. I have to say thank you to everyone involved in our Made in Utah festival, all the vendors and sponsors, all the attendees that came out. We had about 19,000 people in 2 days. It was really a great event, and it's gotten so huge. It's like this giant beast that we got to feed, and we got to make sure everybody is happy. But at the same time, this year it was so fun because we actually got to enjoy it. And last year, behind the scenes, it was complete and utter chaos. And this year we actually got to sit down, listen to music, eat some food, drink some beer, listen to some of the awesome musicians that came out. And I just got to thank everybody involved because it turned out great. And so September is where we celebrate food in Utah and the best chefs in Utah. And on the cover is Amy Wanderley Britt. She owns Pig in a Jelly Jar. She's actually going to be coming on the show this month. I'm really excited to have her on. And the reason why food, and I feel like the local food movement is so important, is because the best local restaurants in Utah, they buy their produce from local farmers. And there's nothing we can do really to support open space and farm and agriculture in Utah than to buy from local farmers in Utah. And we write a lot about farmers. We support them. We get a lot of our great story ideas for our farm issue and our food issue from farmers. And most of the people we wrote about are buying a lot of their ingredients from farms. And so we support farm to table. And so be sure to pick up this issue, September, and read all the awesome stories. And so I want to talk a little bit about education and my own experience with education in Utah. It kind of seems a little fitting that right now we are reading about, I read in the Wall Street Journal over the weekend how Felicity Huff is going to prison for 14 days. I don't know if it's prison or jail, but she essentially decided that her daughter, who was trying to get into one of the top universities, based on her own merit and on her own scholastic achievement and her ACT scores, that wasn't good enough. That she was going to pay a guy to be a test proxy taker. I think she paid him $20,000 to go in and take the test for her so she could be guaranteed entry into this elite university. And this was happening on a massive scale. A lot of celebrities and rich people were paying people to cheat the system to get their kids into top-tier universities. And it's quite a sad thing because these parents are basically telling their kids, yeah, you are upper tier, you are wealthy, we have all this money and this status, but it's not good enough for us to use all of our money and prestige and status in this world to help you get ahead. We're going to just go ahead and pay somebody to help you cheat. And I really liked the actor William Macy, and I actually loved Desperate Housewives when that was on, but this was a truly desperate move by so many rich people, and I'm really glad that they're actually going to pay by serving time in prison and a hefty fine. But I want to tell you, I went to school up here at Skyline High School. I went to school with a bunch of rich kids. Cheating was so common, and I wrote about it actually in the introduction to this issue, but it was so prevalent that the teachers would leave class intentionally during tests where we would take tests as like a free-for-all. Everybody would be passing out answers and cheating openly on tests. And it was just like, I kind of got a negative image in my mind what education really was. I just thought it was about passing tests. It was about getting grades. It was about getting into a school and saying it on a resume that you went to this school. And I really hated school. I hated my educational experience. The last couple of years of high school, the only really good thing I did was I enrolled in some good art classes and a computer science class, and I realized that I liked learning about computers, and I liked basically developing skills. And I think that what is taken away from education is the component of skill development. It's education doesn't mean that you've gone somewhere and you've gotten grades and you've passed and you put it on a resume so you can get a good job. Education should be about developing your own skills so that you can enter into the workforce and you can actually market your abilities, market what you're able to do and perform, and you're able to lend yourself to creating and building wealth in this world. And a lot of people don't want to just simply point that out, that you it's sad to say a lot of millennials, not all of them, but a lot of them feel like when they graduate, they're entitled to a job. So a little bit of background on me. After I left Skyline, I had a bunch of restaurant jobs. I was working as a dishwasher. I was working in these, kitchens, and I realized, I did not want to work in a kitchen the rest of my life. So I decided I was going to enroll in classes at the community college. And I had a teacher. I was basically considered myself dumb in math. And I had a teacher who was teaching Algebra 1. His name was Chuck Cummings at the community college. And he was so amazing in his lectures, in his ability to really carefully explain concepts and then go through problems and solve the problems. And every step along the way, he would look all at every single student's face. And if he saw a look of not understanding on a single student's face, he would ask, "Hey, what's the problem? What can I help you with?" He would make sure every single person in the classroom knew exactly what he was talking about. And I can't say every teacher has that ability, but it was amazing for me because I was considering myself dumb in math. I took his class. I went to every lecture. I did every single homework assignment. I got an A. It totally boosted my confidence in my ability to achieve academically in a subject I thought I could never achieve anything in. And I think that should be the essence of education. Skill building. Like it should not be at all based upon a grade. It should be based upon you mastering the subject matter and having mastery of that subject. And the same goes for English. I was always an okay writer, but it wasn't until I took about 8 English classes, from probably 4 at the community college and 4 more at the University of Utah, did I actually become something of a decent writer. And it takes many, many years to obtain mastery of a subject, and it takes many years to become skilled in anything, and that's exactly what the workforce is looking for. They're not looking that you got a degree from Harvard or Stanford, and certainly you can get jobs with the basis of going to those schools, but most employers, they just want to know, do you have the skills to achieve what's necessary of this job? And so I wanted to reinforce that point because I went to school with a lot of kids who went to fancy schools, and if you're orienting your life all about status and achievement through the status that you gain by going to a fancy school, I can tell you you're not going to be happy. Go to school to learn and gain mastery of subjects and become a skilled person at what you're doing. And so, sorry if that sounds a little bit preachy, but I wanted to mention that. And I also wanted to mention that in our magazine, we have a very special section I want to point out. We like to highlight some of our best writers and contributors, and we're doing this every month for the rest of the year. So pick up our next issue of Utah Stories, and I think you'll really enjoy it. And I think that you'll enjoy this entire month of September by tuning into our podcast. We've got an awesome series of guests planned. We're talking to a doctor who is administering ketamine. We're also talking to a patient who is receiving ketamine treatment. I have heard ketamine is like this miracle cure for depression. I'm naturally really skeptical when it comes to miracle cures for anything, but I really found it fascinating because ketamine is a completely different paradigm shift from SSRIs and other treatments for depression, and we really delve into what that does. We're also talking to who else is on the show during the month of September? We're talking to Amy Britt, as I mentioned, and we have a whole lineup. Let me just read from this. We had Carl Fisher from Save Our Canyons. That one we published already. Andrew Gilliman from the Utah Office of Tourism. He talks about the best places to go to road trip. We're having on this amazing kid who's 28 years old. Really interesting story about how he turned around a startup business and how he's running for governor. He's got all these ideas about how to improve Utah. And some of them I actually found very interesting. He's very articulate. His name's Zachary Moses. We also have on UFC fighter Bobby King, who talks about ultimate fighting, especially in Utah. And then last but not least, one of the major aims we're doing with this program is we want to understand and decipher what's really going on behind the scenes in the state legislature with our Utah lawmakers concerning medical cannabis. So we've written a lot about medical cannabis. We've talked a lot about it. I think it's one of the biggest things coming to Utah in 2020. And the initial bill that the state legislature wrote as a compromise to the bill that the people passed through Proposition 2 was so terribly awful. It was fraught with poison pills. It was certain to not work. And so now the state legislature is realizing that, and they're completely rewriting it. So a lot is up in the air concerning medical cannabis and the cannabis market in Utah. We sit down and talk to Andrew Rigby, who is the cannabis coordinator for the Utah Department of Agriculture. He's the head of the whole department, about the problems associated with it and how that whole issue is shaping up for Utah, and especially people who want to treat everything from autoimmune disorders to anxiety to pain using medical cannabis. And then also from the economic side of it, how Utah businesses can start and entrepreneurs can take advantage of the medical cannabis industry and become a part of that as well. So that's all what we've got in store for September. I hope you take part by subscribing to the Utah Story Show, either on YouTube, iTunes. We're now on Stitcher and Google Play, and I believe SoundCloud. And the best thing you can do for us at this point, it's awesome. We just surpassed 1,000 subscribers. We actually got to 1,038, where our subscriber count's really going up quickly. Is subscribe to the program, but more than anything, share this with a friend. That would be awesome. Share any of the episodes that you happen to like, or if you happen to really like an episode, please give us a 5-star review on iTunes. And I think that's about it for this show. I thank you very much for watching. Until next time, my name's Richard Markosian. I'll see you next time.